They said the age of manual labor would never fade away in the livestock industry. Yet here we are, witnessing colossal engines and high-tech systems reshaping the entire farming landscape. Giant transporters that can carry thousands of sheep at once, automated feeders mixing rations down to the smallest gram, and even AI-driven robots capable of monitoring herds without a single human hand in sight. This is the new face of modern agriculture. It's a realm full of promise, but also mired in swirling rumors, controversies, and complex questions about sustainability, ethics, and the true cost of relying on machines that sometimes boast thousands of horsepower. For generations, farming was defined by sweat, grit, and the careful attention of people who intimately knew their land and animals. In rural communities all over the world, tradition passed from one family member to another, shaping not just a profession, but a whole culture. Yet technology has stepped in with relentless force, offering an alternate vision. One where specialized vehicles can zip entire flocks across countries in less time than it takes to brew a pot of coffee. Some call it miraculous, others believe it's just a new kind of risk. Either way, the livestock industry is at a tipping point. It's teetering between progress and potential pitfalls that few dared to imagine even a decade ago. The real eye-opener arrives when you see some of these transporters up close. A handful of them are rumored to pump out a roaring 5,000 horsepower, enabling them to haul staggering numbers of sheep, cattle, or even heavier livestock. These mega machines are said to reduce stress on animals by cutting travel time, but skepticism remains. Whispers suggest that the mesmerizing horsepower comes with a hidden environmental price tag. Enormous fuel consumption and emissions that might spark tighter regulations in the near future. Some industry insiders claim that conversations behind closed doors have already begun, with the potential for new laws that could either drive manufacturers toward cleaner technology or force smaller operators out of business altogether. For those who've poured life savings into such expensive equipment, the uncertainty is unsettling. On top of that, we have the new wave of feeding innovations. The typical hand-feeding rituals, once a cornerstone of day-to-day farming, are steadily being replaced by TMR, total mixed ration mixers that promise precise blends for every stage of growth. Machines like the Gieler 5050, featuring a 60 HP engine, are hailed as wonders for consistently delivering balanced meals to large herds. Supporters tout the reduced waste, streamlined labor, and improved livestock health as reasons to celebrate. Yet, rumors keep popping up about corners being cut, like feed compositions quietly shifting to cheaper mixtures, or sensors malfunctioning in ways that only get noticed after a series of weight gains or drops in the animals. These stories, though unverified, spark heated debate in farm communities. The question becomes, does mechanized efficiency truly mean better care for animals, or does it open the door for hidden compromises that could be difficult to detect? Further up the technological ladder stand machines like the Cerextad FlexiFeed round bale cutter, rocking a 100 HP engine and a conveyor system that can distribute feed with astonishing speed and precision. Videos have surfaced showing these high-tech wonders slicing through enormous bales like it's no big deal, leaving uniform piles in their wake. Farms that adopt them rave about time savings and the ability to feed hundreds of animals within minutes. But talk to local farmhands who've lost jobs to automation, and you'll hear a different perspective. A sense of being squeezed out by mechanical efficiency they can't match. In some areas, entire teams that once cared for livestock daily were replaced by a handful of operators who manage these devices from air-conditioned cabs. What unsettles people further is the creeping suspicion that such automation might diminish the hands-on knowledge that defines animal husbandry. Tending to animals used to be a skill acquired over a lifetime. Now that bond may be replaced by data readouts and automated alerts, leading some to fear that subtle shifts in an animal's behavior, signals that only a seasoned farmer might notice, will slip through the cracks. There's a growing buzz that many of the younger generation might never fully learn the craft, since advanced machinery does so much of the day-to-day work for them. While this frees up time for other tasks, critics question whether the art of farming is being replaced by a reliance on systems that could fail in ways no one is prepared to handle. The conversation becomes even more complex once you throw massive horsepower figures into the mix. Machines like specialized sheep transporters or the Hustler SL360X bale feeder can clock well over 100 HP. In the case of some transporters, rumors of 5,000 HP border on the surreal, and yet videos posted online seem to confirm that these behemoths exist. They revolutionize speed and capacity, yet not everyone sees these developments as purely beneficial. Environmental groups have supposedly taken notice, leveling accusations that these high-horsepower devices produce pollution at levels that could affect local air quality. Farmers who've made these substantial purchases argue that the advanced technology is more efficient and safer for the animals, thereby justifying any environmental trade-offs. It's a standoff of contrasting perspectives, with no clear consensus in sight. Behind the scenes, there's another story unfolding, one about immense costs and mysterious backdoor arrangements. Reliable, modern farm machinery doesn't come cheap, and many operators invest huge sums of money, banking on promises of better returns. But what happens if a machine breaks down in the midst of a feed cycle? Maintenance alone can become a nightmare, with parts that need to be specially ordered and technicians who must have extensive, manufacturer-approved training. Critics say this funnels control and profit to large corporations, creating a monopoly-like scenario where smaller farms are left scrambling for resources. Unconfirmed allegations have cropped up, pointing to exclusivity contracts that trap farmers into certain technology ecosystems, limiting their ability to shop around or switch to competing brands. These controversies intersect powerfully with animal welfare concerns. While automated feeders can reduce the margin of human error, they aren't immune to problems. A single sensor glitch could result in animals receiving too little or too much feed, an issue that goes unnoticed until the weight starts dropping or spiking alarmingly. By the time someone realizes the mistake, health impacts may be well underway. On the flip side, supporters of automation highlight improved consistency. Each feeding session mirrors the last, ensuring the herd gets the correct blend of nutrients. Stories circulate about how this stability has led to better outcomes in milk production or overall livestock vitality, driving profits upward. Whether these claims are universally true or cherry-picked success stories is up for debate. The puzzle of modern farming doesn't end with feed mixers and mega-horsepower transporters. We're inching toward a world where AI might run entire operations. Robotic systems that gather data on each animal's daily intake and weight fluctuations could theoretically signal early warnings for disease outbreaks or nutritional deficiencies. It's an enticing prospect. Imagine receiving an alert on your phone that sheep in Barn 3 have developed an anomaly in their feeding habits, prompting you to investigate before a full-blown crisis hits. But with such interconnected systems come new forms of vulnerability. Some worry about data manipulation, hacking, or malicious attempts to disrupt the food supply. Conspiracy theories abound, with the suggestion that high-level players in the farming industry might stand to gain from controlling the data behind these operations, though definitive proof remains elusive. Then there's the moral dimension. Could we be venturing into territory where animals are treated as data points in a system more focused on high yields and profit margins than on the well-being of living creatures? Advocates of technological progress maintain that precision feeding and minimized stress during transport yield healthier livestock in the long run. Detractors, however, suspect that a hands-off approach might prioritize consistency and volume over the nuanced quality of daily care. The conversation also touches on how reliant we are on energy resources. One can't run a 5,000 HP machine without a hefty supply of fuel or electricity, raising questions about sustainability and the global push to reduce carbon footprints. At what point do we say enough is enough? Stories keep emerging about large-scale livestock carriers rolling through highways at night to avoid scrutiny, prompting gossip about whether they might be circumventing safety regulations. Some claim that accidents or breakdowns involving these gargantuan vehicles can lead to chaotic scenes with entire flocks stranded. And if rumors are correct, insurance complications can ensnare farmers in expensive legal battles, raising the stakes even higher. Meanwhile, smaller farms continue to weigh the pros and cons. Do they invest in this technology to remain competitive, or do they risk being left behind in a rapidly modernizing marketplace? Amid these discussions, certain voices remind us that technology in itself is a tool, neither good nor evil by default. It all depends on how it's used. Advanced feeding systems can indeed save labor and time, which can be redirected toward improving other aspects of animal care. Automated record keeping might help farmers spot health issues sooner, thereby reducing suffering. Even high-horsepower transporters can be beneficial if managed responsibly and operate under well-enforced safety and environmental regulations. The trouble starts when corners are cut or profit motives overshadow ethical considerations. Without transparency, the line between responsible innovation and exploitation can become dangerously blurred. Some farmers have witnessed real success stories. A large sheep operation in one region, for instance, reported that switching to automated feeding systems reduced feed waste by almost half, cutting costs significantly. By meticulously monitoring each sheep's dietary needs, they also saw fewer health complications, resulting in more consistent growth rates. Those details emerged in an online forum that quickly lit up with excited questions. Everyone wanted to know the brand of the system, the initial costs, and the challenges of implementation. Despite the glowing reviews, a few skeptics chimed in, warning that the equipment might be overly complicated and prone to breakdowns without continuous technical support. The thread soon spun off into a heated debate, illustrating the divide between those who see mechanization as the future and those clinging to time-tested, traditional methods. In more remote corners of the world, the expansion of advanced machinery is slower, but still noticeable. Agricultural expos frequently showcase prototypes of self-driving tractors that can plow fields, sow seeds, and even calibrate fertilizer distribution based on real-time soil analytics. Enthusiasts argue that these breakthroughs can help address labor shortages and feed a growing global population. Yet critics raise concerns about local economies and the role of manual labor in maintaining community bonds. The fear is that if everything becomes automated, entire regions might lose the economic backbone that family-owned and operated farms once provided. At some point, the direct relationship between farmers and their land might turn into a data-driven transaction managed by corporate tech giants. Beyond the operational aspects, there's an expanding conversation around how these technologies might shift the broader ecological balance. With powerful machinery enabling farms to intensify production, grazing lands in crop areas can be pushed to their limits. High-speed transporters might encourage rapid turnover and larger herds, potentially straining local water resources and producing higher volumes of manure, which then requires efficient waste management systems. Environmental experts caution that while advanced machines can help, they can also accelerate unsustainable practices if not paired with responsible resource management. It's a tightrope walk, and not everyone is convinced the industry can maintain the balance. Rumors abound about new alliances forming between tech companies and established agricultural equipment manufacturers, with talk of data-sharing agreements that could transform how farms are monitored. There's speculation that artificial intelligence might soon do more than just analyze feeding patterns. It could begin to forecast market conditions, adjusting livestock output to match expected demand. Some foresee a future where the entire supply chain, from birth to slaughter, is orchestrated by algorithms, maximizing profit. On paper, it sounds efficient, but critics worry that it might push smaller operations further into the margins, as they might lack the capital to invest in such integrated systems. Even for large farms, the initial cost could be astronomical, raising concerns about whether control will concentrate in the hands of a few megacorporations that can afford to dominate the market. Amidst these sweeping changes, ordinary people watching from the outside might be awed by images of enormous tractors rolling across vast fields, or herds of sheep quietly filing into double-decker transporters. There's a mesmerizing quality to seeing technology solve challenges that once demanded dozens of workers, especially when it happens at breathtaking speed. However, the underlying conflicts remain veiled. The job losses, potential threats to animal welfare if systems malfunction, ballooning costs, and the uncertain environmental footprint. This dichotomy between spectacle and substance is a big part of why debates about modern farming rage on, both online and in local communities around the world. Farmers, at the heart of it all, are tasked with making decisions that could shape their livelihoods for decades to come. Some embrace automation fully, believing it to be the logical evolution of agriculture. They argue that feeding a booming global population requires the precision and power that only advanced machinery can provide. Others prefer a more measured approach, blending old practices with new technology in hopes of preserving the soul of farming while still enjoying the benefits of modern advancements. And then there are the holdouts, suspicious of large corporations and wary of the hidden strings attached to sophisticated machines and data platforms. Critics on social media often label certain farm owners as sellouts, accusing them of turning their backs on core farming values. In response, proponents argue that the critics are clinging to nostalgia at the expense of practical solutions. Lost in these heated exchanges are the nuanced opinions of operators who, frankly, see both sides. They appreciate the convenience and efficiency that machines bring, but also lament the loss of direct involvement and the intangible satisfaction of raising animals through hands-on work. These moderate voices often get drowned out, overshadowed by polarizing extremes. Sifting through all this reveals one undeniable truth. The livestock industry is undergoing a transformation that's as uncertain as it is profound. Every triumph in efficiency seems to be offset by new concerns about cost, environment, labor, or animal health. Stories of success are sometimes contested by quieter accounts of farmers going into debt or experiencing catastrophic failures when the technology malfunctioned. In a sense, we're in the midst of a grand experiment with enormous stakes. If everything goes right, we may step into an era of unprecedented productivity and improved animal welfare. If something goes wrong, the ripple effects could touch economies, ecosystems, and the global food supply in ways we can barely predict. Despite the controversies, one can't deny the relentless momentum of innovation. AI-driven analytics, powerful engines, and automated feeders appear to be here to stay. The big question is whether we're prepared to handle the complexities of this evolution. Are the rumored environmental regulations mere speculation, or will they soon reshape the market, forcing certain machines off the roads? Will smaller farms adapt and survive, or will they be swallowed up by the cost of staying technologically current? And what happens if hacking or data manipulation become real threats to livestock operations on a large scale? Answers aren't easy to come by, and perhaps that uncertainty keeps people glued to their screens, watching every new unveiling of advanced machinery with a mix of wonder and apprehension. For now, livestock operations around the world grapple with the challenge of integrating formidable horsepower and intricate data systems into an industry that once relied heavily on manual labor and personal expertise. Each step forward seems to inspire both progress and protest, ensuring that the debate remains as charged as ever. In the end, modern livestock farming is about more than gleaming transporters or silent, efficient feeding robots. It's a story of people, their hopes, fears, and aspirations. It's also a story of animals, whose health and well-being hinge on balancing economic efficiency with responsible care. And, ultimately, it's a story of the land and environment that support both machines and living creatures alike. The tension between technology's promise and its potential pitfalls may never be fully resolved, but it's shaping our world in ways that are both breathtaking and unsettling. As we stand on the threshold of what some call the fourth agricultural revolution, one truth echoes clearly: progress always comes with a price. Whether that price is worth paying depends on who you ask. A farmer who's doubled production with fewer accidents might say it's the best decision they ever made, while a displaced worker might see the same developments as devastating. A large corporation might welcome the expansion of automated systems, anticipating soaring profits, while environmental advocates remain wary of the carbon footprint. Right now, the future is unwritten, and all these voices compete in a grand chorus that will determine where we go from here. At this crossroads, everyone from regulators to consumers has a role to play. Our choices about what we buy, how we vote, and which initiatives we support will shape the trajectory of livestock farming more than any single piece of machinery ever could. Perhaps the ultimate lesson is that technology can be a powerful ally, but it cannot replace accountability, ethics, or wisdom. Farmers may harness the energy of 5,000 HP engines and rely on the precision of AI-driven feeders, But at the end of the day, living creatures in the environment demand more nuanced care. If we lose sight of that, no amount of innovation will save us from the long-term costs. So here we are, witnessing a monumental shift that touches everything from rural employment to global food chains. Today, an automated mixer might be your best friend. Tomorrow, you could discover new challenges lurking inside that same device's software. And while controversy stirs about the ultimate impact of these mega machines, one thing is certain: the journey of modern farming has only begun. Each breakthrough in horsepower or AI capability sets off another wave of speculation, excitement, and concern. The choices we make now, how we regulate emissions, invest in research, train new generations of farm workers, and distribute both responsibilities and rewards, will ripple through the livestock industry for decades to come. That's the crux of this story. A delicate balancing act between harnessing speed, power, and data to feed a hungry world and respecting the intricate tapestry of life that underpins every farm. Look closer at those massive transporters, humming feeders, and blinking control panels. Beyond their sleek exteriors and impressive capabilities, you'll find the hopes of progress, the dread of obsolescence, and the endless capacity for debate that defines a sector in flux. Will the next iteration of robotic shepherds or driverless bale stackers finally tip the scales? Or will a groundbreaking environmental policy step in first? Only time will reveal which path we're truly racing down, propelled by the roar of thousands of horsepower and the quiet hum of microchips.